We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positive. We, as a football city, are above 500. So it is a happy Thanksgiving week here. I hope everybody travels safely and does all the good things they need to be doing. I did all the good things I needed to be doing last week. My thanks to my GBMC team, Dr. Ascari and Jane and Greg and all these nice people that I came encountered with on Friday because I'm of that age to get a colonoscopy. So men's health, women's health, health in general, I'm yelling about it out there because I had a precancerous polyp removed. I'm safe. I'm sound. I'm better. I'm back on the air. I'm ready for Thursday night football. I'm ready for 4 football games on Thursday if they'll give me college. Luke Jones is here. Luke was also with us on Friday as part of my colonoscopy. He did not realize this, that Luke, first off, happy Thanksgiving to you, your family, everything good?
Yeah, thank you. And this is where I get in the joke about the Ravens game on Sunday feeling like a colonoscopy watching that thing, right? Too soon? I don't know, right?
I enjoyed my colonoscopy more than I enjoyed the game on Sunday. I'll
There
say
you
that.
go.
So
There
that,
that
so,
you
so
did
that
you one-upped me there. There
I
you
feel
go.
more cleansed. I feel more clear on how my situation than I am on the Ravens situation. So I got to tell you this before we get started. We're going to go through the game. Luke's here. He's Baltimore Luke. We all know that. By the way, Maryland Crab Cake Tour is back and alive. I have Raven scratch offs. We're going to go back to Deep Pasquale's on the 11th of December, so I'm set for that. We're going to be at a new place over in Halethorpe called Honey's. I'm setting that up, getting some dates together, and we're going to be at Fadley's, and we're going to do like our real Christmas show at Costas in Dundalk, and I'm working on Gina Shock and John Allen and a whole bunch of my Dundalk Goombas to come down there, eat some crabs and some crab cakes for Christmas. Crabs for Christmas. All right, so Friday I had my colonoscopy. Went in, did all the things you do. By the way, the drink wasn't nearly as bad as people tell me it is. I somehow had some strawberry banana thing. I mean, it wasn't like an icy delight, a snowball, but it wasn't. It was like an energy drink. It wasn't like horrible. I was expecting this one of the worst things I've ever milky, chalky. I was expecting awful. I was expecting like the world's worst Maylocks, and it wasn't like that. It was fine. So the experience, fine. We all know what it is. You talk about all that. So I went, did my thing. They, put me out. I'm cranky. Poor nurses. God, I'm gonna take the GBMC crew a whole bunch of Coco's crab cakes because I got to be nice to them. So I get done. I'm light sensitive. I'm nauseous. I'm everything you'd be during a colonoscopy. Dr. Ascari comes in, who's been on the show. He talked to me. He was way more chipper than I was at one point. Then he realized that I was not that I wasn't the guy on the radio anymore. I was the guy in the stirrups. And when it all ended, I'm laying there. I'm waking up foggy. My wife's holding my hand. Nurses are talking to me. I can't see anything because I told my wife I don't want any light because you're in one of those little. I said cover my face. A light will make me throw up. So I'm in the dark, and a guy says, "Hey, Nestor, my name's Greg. I've been your nurse all day. I just want to let you know I love you and Luke. You guys are the best on football and baseball." So
There we
there.
go.
So there
There
you
we
have it.
go.
All right. So I woke up to, dude, I love your show, but really Luke, he's the one I really like. So how are you, man? How was Sunday at the stadium? I don't know what to say because the people who hate me who don't listen to the show, and I don't know that they're even relevant, and there's so many of them that hate me. All 10 of my listeners hate me apparently. They think that we were down on the team when they were 1-5. I'm the one that said they would win the division when they were 1-5. So I can go back to all of that. So I'm not doing any revisionist bourgeois history here. We're not shocked that they started to win games. I think we're still shocked at the fact that they're winning games and they don't look like a good football team. And I'll just leave it at that and let you go after it.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd even say they don't look like a good football team because if that's the standard, like who exactly is
A
good
good
right
football
now,
team's
right?
a
6-5
football team, right?
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
football team, right?
So, goods are obviously good is a very relative term when we're talking about this. But in terms of being what they've been in previous regular seasons, in terms of thinking about making a deep January run, in terms of finally breaking through and getting to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl, yeah, they've got a heck of a lot of work to do there. I think what was interesting to me, and I wrote about this at BaltimorePositive.com, and it just speaks to where the perception is about this football team right now. There were two individuals who spoke within 5 minutes of each other in the post-game locker room. One was Draymond Jones, who's still, not counting guys on the practice squad, anything like that, the newest Raven,
He
right?
just left a really bad team, so he knows the
Yeah,
difference.
and he's thrilled, right? And he pointed out in the post game that since I've arrived, I was kind of wondering, like, why were these guys losing games? Why were there so many slip ups? This defense has played really well, and the defense has played really well, right? I mean, this is their sixth straight game where they've allowed fewer than 20 points, and he's never been to the playoffs in his career, and he's in year 7. I mean, he's been around for at least a minute, so he's excited. Clearly, there's excitement when you've won 5 in a row, and to your point, not that either one of us were completely burying these guys. I'm not going to say I wasn't low on them at 1-5 because 1-5 is 1-5. I was low on them at the moment, but you and I constantly were looking at the path for them to get back into this position. And if you had told me they were going to be 6-5, or even if they had dropped a game and they were 5-6 at this point in time, I would have fully bought into that. So there's the acknowledgement of that and how the defense played on Sunday, the special teams. I mean, Jordan Stout with an incredible day punting the football. So there was plenty to like, and there is plenty to like when you've won 5 in a row and you're back to 6-5 and you're in first place in a division that has one other good/okay team in the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Again, however you want to describe it is relative, but they're 6-5 as well. On the flip side, a couple minutes after Draymond Jones spoke, we spoke to the longest tenured player on the team, Ronnie Stanley, who's in year 10. And while he expressed appreciation for how the defense played and how the special teams played and the fact that they're winning, he was the one who spoke the hard truth and said, look, Lamar and I, and he was asked kind of about Lamar's comments, and Lamar expressed frustration. Derrick Henry expressed frustration. They said, look, we understand if we want to be a Super Bowl team, our offense needs to be way better than what we are right now. And I think that's where you look at this thing and say, okay, you go to Cleveland, you play a Browns defense that, say what you want about the offense or the quarterback situation. That's a good defense. And Myles Garrett with more sacks on Sunday having a historic season. So it's one thing to have that kind of a game, but let's call a spade here. The New York Jets are woeful. Their defense was in the bottom 10 in points allowed. And if you look at DVOA and all these different efficiency metrics, and oh, yeah, they traded Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams earlier this month. So to have 3 points at halftime, to have your lowest
against basically a preseason team, kind of, sort of, sort of.
Maybe not that bad, but not far off, right? Again, this isn't. We have to call this what it is. The Jets are a really bad football team, and for your
They're a top
offense,
5 bad team in the league, and I don't even know, who you'd make a case for 4 teams worse.
Yeah,
honestly,
I
right?
mean, they're somewhere in that neighborhood, right? And
they're starting their backup quarterback, who is 36 years old, right? Like,
who, by the way, is better than Justin Fields. So,
right.
that part of it moves me a little bit less. But, and for me, it goes beyond that. And we'll talk about plenty of other elements of this football game. And there were positives, as I mentioned, and there were other individuals you can talk about. But Lamar Jackson's not right. I mean, we need to acknowledge that. We've been talking about that. We're seeing it on the injury report. He didn't look right. And you look at these 2 games back to back. When was the last time Lamar Jackson had back-to-back games that looked like this? I mean, you probably have to go back to, I don't know, maybe 2022, 2021. But it's not even so much that, oh, okay, he had an off day throwing the football, and he did. But he's not taking off and running. And even when he does, it's not looking very explosive. And that's where you look at this thing. And when you're trying to figure out what the Ravens are going to be come December, come Thursday night with a quick turnaround, right? Playing the Bengals, who have the worst defense in the league. But if you don't do a whole lot against the Jets, the way that their offense was on Sunday, it's kind of an all bets are off situation in terms of I'm not really sure what to expect. And I'm not sure when and if Lamar is going to get healthy for the remainder of this season. And what's he going to look like come week 16? And what's he going to look like come January? They're not going to have a first round bye. If we are fully buying into them being a playoff team and winning the division, and I'm fine with that. But in terms of projecting out more than that, man, I've got to see a lot more from how Lamar looked on Sunday and how this offense continues to look. So
Well, 10
that's
days off for him. You got to get through Thursday night. You got to
yeah,
win, right?
but
10 days
but
off.
it is, but that's the last chance, right? That's the last chance for them to have any kind of meaningful extended rest. And we're not talking about a full-blown bye week. We're talking about a long weekend, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So that's where you look at
Well,
this
you're
thing and
talking
say,
about him not having to walk out to the practice field for 5 days in a row, which is, that's significant. Again, they've been lying. They lie about everything. So I can't project upon what his injury is. I'm like a hockey guy now, lower body injury,
oh, and
like,
I think that's what it is, right? Look, and I'm with you on that. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm subscribing to the injury report being gospel, but he had a hamstring injury that he missed 3 weeks. He's come back. He had a knee issue 2 weeks ago, and this past week he had an ankle issue. You could see both of his ankles were taped up. He said his ankle felt, was solid over the course of Sunday's game, but the eyeball test says it all. I mean, that's just doesn't look like Lamar out there. I mean, Tyrod Taylor was out there running around more effectively in terms of scrambling and getting away from guys than Lamar Jackson. And I don't say that. I'm not saying that to be like over the top critical of Lamar. I'm just saying what my eyes are telling me right
well,
now.
his speed is his special skill. It's not his passing ability. It's not his ability to read. He's fine at all of that. He's a professional
He's
quarterback.
good in all that.
He's good at all that.
Yeah,
But his special skill, the thing that
yeah.
makes him different is his
Transcendent.
ability to, well, I mean, he did avoid a sack at one point, which, I mean, he's got an
Oh,
ungodly ability to not fall down. And this goes back to him being 11 years old on the
yeah.
playground, right? Like, he's just really hard to tackle for whatever that means, whatever
Sure.
that
And,
means.
and let me be clear when I'm saying this. I'm not saying he looks like 40-year-old Joe Flacco out there either, right? It's still relative, but he's not showing the explosiveness and the normal burst that he has, the willingness to take off. I mean, there were two or three different examples at least of times where it looked like he could take off and run for 15 or 20 yards. And how
Old
many
Lamar
times?
would do that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And it's not even so much that and we've talked about the natural progression for him that the last couple of years he's become much more of a scrambler, extending the play to throw downfield. But
Well,
when
wheels
it's
at 30 are different than wheels at 20 anyway, and he's getting there. And he's getting tread on his tire now because he's been banged around. So there is a point for me where I don't look at him as being a kid anymore,
it's
right?
not,
Because he's not.
but he's 28. I mean, he's not 34.
But you take away just a fraction of that super speed he has, and he's just mortal.
But
And
he's banged
as a
up.
runner,
Right. And look,
as a runner.
I'll hear that part of it to a point, but I don't think anyone's watching him right now thinking he's healthy, right? I mean, and on top of that, just he hasn't been very good throwing the football the last 2 weeks, right?
Well, that's about planting your legs too. I mean,
Sure. Well,
yeah.
it's trusting your protection or not trusting your protection. It's your clock being off, your timing being off. Rashad Bateman being out of the lineup, so you have some different personnel groupings that you might be using than normal, right? So
He's not practicing on Wednesday too.
he's not
right?
practicing. Justice Hill missed the previous week in Cleveland, who obviously is a big part of what they do with blitz pickup.
Would you say he hasn't practiced enough? Is there a part for you where you look at the last month and a half and say it's a timing game, it's a passing game, it's a complex game? Like when you're not out there practicing and you're hurt enough that you can't go to work on Wednesday, it tells me about how you feel on Monday and Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And it probably tells me about how you feel on Thursday and Friday and Saturday leading up to Sunday. And then you get out there Sunday and all of us look at it and we see this world-class, best we've ever seen athlete who is just a little off. And a little off is you're a singer and you're a little off, you're out of key. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the practice part of this kind of went away back in September, and we're now in December. Now it's just getting through. Let's get by. Let's get by.
Yeah.
We're playing a crappy team. Let's get by. Let's hand the ball off. Where's Mark Andrews? Let's get by. Let's get by. And getting by is what they're doing because they're winning. They won 5 in a row by getting by. And that's kind of what you want. I mean, if I were sitting with my feet up on Harbaugh's desk like I used to back when we were friends, before he was reading the biblical passages, the special skill that he has is speed. He is their best runner. He's their best play. When you take all of that away, They become an ordinary team slogging around against a really bad Jets team, trying to get first downs, trying to figure out how to get first downs, literally.
Yeah, and look, going back to what you said about the practice, is that I don't think that's all of it, but it's certainly part of the equation. It has to be, right? I mean, if it weren't, then you wouldn't practice all week, and it'd just be like Madden, and like the guys just chill, and then they roll the ball out on Sunday and they play, right? I
But if
mean,
he's out
there's a
there
lot.
gimping on Sunday, he's out there practicing on Thursday and Friday and probably doesn't feel any better.
Yeah.
And probably
So,
doesn't look any better or can plant any better or
well,
probably just wants to get the hell off the field on Thursday and Friday because he knows he has to play on Sunday. I mean,
well, and that's where we go back to the other issues that plague this offense, right? The offensive line. They continue to struggle in short yardage. I mean, even Derrick Henry, it was another fourth and goal touchdown that they had to score, right? I mean, nothing is easy for this offense right now. And how much of that is coaching? How much is the offensive line? How much of that is Lamar Jackson not being 100% and not being peak MVP caliber Lamar here of late, right? I mean, it's yes to all of that, right? It's never just one thing. And let me be clear, my criticism here of how the offense has looked, it's not all on Lamar Jackson. But he's the most important part of this, and that's where you do look at this thing and look, what you said is right. I am not at all. This is not me suggesting that I wanted to see Lamar run 17 times on Sunday. I understand he's at a different place in his career. I understand Todd Monken and the Ravens coaching staff wants him to be at a different place in his career as it pertains to that. But my point is trying to peek ahead to not even so much Thursday night because the Bengals, is Joe Burrow going to play? Is it going to be rusty? That Bengals defense, I mean, if you can't score some points against them and look better against them than you did Sunday, then boy, I mean, like every game's a question mark then moving forward because that defense is as bad as it gets in the NFL. Uh, our old buddy Aaron Schatz, in terms of DVOA, they're a team that's on the short list of the worst defenses of all time right now. So that speaks to where they are. But beyond that, when you're talking about two games with Pittsburgh, going to Cincinnati, New England coming to Baltimore as the number one seed in the AFC at the moment, going to Green Bay in Week 17, and obviously a trip to Western Pennsylvania in Week 18. That's where you look at this thing and say, okay, Lamar's had tough back-to-back games. He will get the mini bye on the back end of the Thursday night game, but there's no more rest after that. I mean, they're only let me stop myself there. If they can continue to win and they can play at a high enough level where they get in a position where and maybe they could do it because I mean the Steelers lost again on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers with the wrist. I mean, we're going to see how he does. I mean, he's going to be back on the field sooner than later with that, but how's it going to go? How's their team going to play? So maybe the path is that the Ravens can be in a position where they can rest Lamar Week 18. Who knows, right? I mean, I'm projecting way out. In the same way we were trying to project out what this team was going to be when they were 1-5, right? I mean, it's looking ahead. You and I can do that. We're not playing on Sunday or Thursday for that matter. So, but that's where I look at this thing and say, if we're giving the Ravens the proper credit to win 5 in a row, albeit against the schedule where we were predicting wins, right? These are games they should have won if they were going to be healthy and back to being a more complete roster with most of your guys other than Namdi Matabike. To your point, you're not shocked by this. They deserve their credit. They're in the playoff field at the moment, but that also doesn't mean we lower the big picture standard, right? I mean, is the idea that, oh, they just get to the playoffs and then nothing else matters after that? No. If we're going to hold this team to the high standard that they've earned for themselves over the last 6-7 years, we're now thinking in terms of, all right, big picture, like Ronnie Stanley was talking about in the post game. And that's where I ask, are we going to see a healthier version of Lamar Jackson? Can this offensive line get any better, right? I mean, Emory Jones, we've talked about him. He was active for the first time on Sunday. Didn't play, but maybe that's the next step in him potentially replacing Voorhees or Daniel Faalele. So, we're trying to project out how this team can get better and continue to get better. And they've gotten better. The defense is way better than it was the first 5 games of the season. Even if, yeah, it's Tyrod Taylor and Dylan Gabriel and JJ McCarthy, right? I mean, we're not facing a murderer's row of quarterbacks that the kind that you're going to see in January, certainly, but it's gotten better. There's no doubt about that. But if we're looking at this offense, man, I need to see a healthier version of Lamar, right? I need to see a version of Lamar that looks much more like himself. And no, that doesn't mean he has to run 12 or 13 times, but man, if he doesn't have the ability to do that come next month when the schedule is going to pick up, and then certainly come January, man, it really puts much more of a ceiling on this offense. There's no question about that. And
And
that's
more pressure on the defense.
and that's the part that's difficult to shake from Sunday, right? I mean, they won. Their defense played very well. Jordan Stout was incredible, right? I mean, my goodness, there were more post-game questions in terms of praise for the punter than was the starting quarterback in this offense that's been at times historically great the last few years. It speaks to what kind of game it was, but if I'm really looking at this in terms of, okay, what's next and projecting out what this team can be, three straight AFC North games now, and knowing what their schedule is in December. And then, hey, if they do make the playoffs and they do win the division, what's that going to look like? If it's Kansas City coming to Baltimore in the wild card round, or Buffalo coming to Baltimore in the wild card round, what's that going to look like, right? So that's where I just look at Sunday, and for me, that's the part that's tough to shake, right? All the positives. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. They've won 5 in a row, and they are in first place, and they do deserve credit for that. But I just don't know how you can look at how Lamar Jackson looked on Sunday and not have some real concerns about that. And you know, I mean, an off day throwing the ball in Cleveland, tough against the Browns, who really know this Ravens offense. And we've talked about Jim Schwartz and his familiarity and what the Ravens, or what they did to the Ravens back in week 2. That was one thing, but to then look like that again against a Jets team that is just not good. That was eye-opening to me. It's not panic by any means, but certainly concerning for me as I'm trying to move forward now, looking at this team in a different light, because they are in the playoff field. And I'm not going to just say, oh, well, you win the division and, well, that's good enough, right? No, this team has higher standards than that, and bigger goals than that. And what they did on Sunday wasn't good enough if we're talking in terms of wanting to be able to fulfill that. And again, it begins with the health of number 8.
I give it to Harbaugh at least for trying to go into the end zone at the end of the game and push the spread. 13 and a half. It did not make a lot of people laugh here if they were betting on the Ravens. Luke Jones is here. He's Baltimore Luke. It's all presented by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I have Ravens scratch-offs to give away. We're going to be setting some new standards in December. We're going to be back at Di Pasquale's on the 11th down in Canton. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to bring some of my Italian mobsters over there to have some fun, get Coringi and all my boys together, maybe eat some Bianco pizza before it's all over with on our Maryland Crab Cake Tour. Also, our friends at GBMC for setting me square and letting me know that I am, at least for now, cancer-free, and I'm very appreciative. My colonoscopy was last month. If you haven't done anything for your 2026 planning, plan a colonoscopy if you're of the. Now, Luke tells me he's not 45 yet, so he's like waiting on it. My kid was here last night. He's like 41, so he's like on the cusp. So for everybody out there, do what I did and find out that you're healthier on Thanksgiving. Your family will love you for it. Lamar and one of the pregame shows is like, should they rest him if he's not right? Should they, at what point do you give him some downtime? I don't know where all of that is. I saw his frustration in the postgame in a general sense. I don't know what can be done other than giving him off on Wednesday, which they've done. They're not going to practice this week, right? Like they go right back into the frying pan on Thursday night. This is an important week. I mean, they can't let this get away against Cincinnati, right? Like, I mean, Cincinnati's still dangerous as I see it. Now, that being said, T. Higgins hit his head late in the game. I can't imagine he's going to play on Thursday. So there are some things that, aside from their awful defense, just in a general sense, that getting through Thursday night, this is a little stretch. It's national TV. They're going to have turducken. All that stuff's going to be out on Thursday. This is a little bit of a dangerous game. And as much as we talk about the Jets and Lamar, hey, they got to get back up and play again tomorrow night.
No question. And I mean, the Jets, the Bengals have plenty of questions, obviously, right? I mean, we're talking about a team that's 3-8, an awful defense. Joe Burrow, I assume,
Coach might be in trouble there too, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the Bengals, so you never really know, right? When
Right.
you consider ownership there, and not
Bring
wanting to pay
back
coach,
Marvin. Bring back Marvin. Sorry.
not
Just
not wanting to pay coaches to go away and all that, but
Marvin doesn't want that gig anymore, I don't think.
but
17 years is enough.
he'd want Joe Burrow, but yeah, I mean that defense, I don't know, not so much, but yeah, assuming Joe Burrow is going to play, but what's he going to look like, right? I mean, we're talking about Lamar who missed 3 weeks with or 3 games with a hamstring, right? He missed a month with a hamstring. Is that toe? It's one thing to talk about you're feeling good in a controlled environment like practice, but is that toe going to be, he's not Lamar Jackson taking off and running, but still needs to be able to move within the pocket and set it, move his feet, reset his feet, avoid the rush. That's a Bengals offensive line that I think has played better over the last month and a half than it played earlier in the season, but still far from a great group. So they have plenty of questions. And all things being equal, I'm picking the Ravens to win Thursday night, right? But Jamar Chase is going to be coming back on the heels of his suspension for spitting on Jalen Ramsey, and I wanted to give that a little bit of oxygen because I think you and I were very critical of Jalen Ramsey at the time, in real time, not knowing just just how obvious it was that Chase spit on him, and that does change things a little bit when you're talking about how someone's going to react to that. But he's going to be motivated to put on a show. We're going to see about Kyle Hamilton. We know he hurt his ankle late in the game. John Harbaugh said it's not a serious injury, but that doesn't mean he's going to be ready to play in 3 days, right? So if you don't have Hamilton out there, that certainly changes the dynamic of what your defense looks like. So, but they need to win. And you said it with Lamar. I mean, I think they're doing, reasonably speaking, they're doing everything they can right now while acknowledging you need him to be out there, right? I mean, Lamar at less than 100% is still better than Tyler Huntley. And I know, God bless Snoop, he played well in that Bears game. And boy, that's a win that
He's
continues to
got a
age.
commercial. Do you know that?
Oh, I talked to him in the locker room about it. Yeah, it's a commercial for a certain non-sponsor of ours, national insurance company. But yeah, he's got a backup. The whole premise of the commercial, which is clever because I actually remember it compared to how many athlete pitches where you can never even remember what they're pitching. He's got it, and I asked him about it in the locker room a couple weeks ago, and he flashed a big smile. He's like, "You like that? My agent set it up for me." I said, "Good for you, man." I mean, you're talking about someone who's,
Lamar doesn't have a commercial, does he?
I mean, he's had some, but not that none that I can think of right now. But no, to go back to it, that Bears game, which the funny thing is, they're 5 post-bye games. They're 5 wins. I mean, that Bears game's the most impressive of those 5, and that's the one Lamar didn't play, right? I mean, so, but that being said, I'll still take my chances with the less than 100% Lamar Jackson than Tyler Huntley over the long haul, right? But you look at it, they're giving him Wednesdays off. I mean, he's got to practice some, right? And that's also for the sake of the rest of the offense too. I mean, this offensive line,
Well, that's what I mean. If you expect it to look disjointed, it's because they don't have
yeah.
maximal effort in regard to practicing, and they haven't been good. Dude, they haven't been good since Buffalo first half. Let's seriously. They haven't been good all year where like it's been like an offense that looks like a playoff offense, that looks like a Lamar offense, that looks like all the pieces are together. They have not at all, and they're not practicing the way they should be practicing, and he can't do what you want him and need him to do on game day. So for it to look disjointed, and oh, by the way, they win every week. They've won 5 in a row. So I'm not here giving them style points at this point, especially after they were 1-5 and they were horrible against good teams and they were banged up against good teams. They didn't have their best players. And we'll get to Kyle Hamilton in a minute. I mean, that's a whole other issue, the other side of the ball, in regard to how good the defense, where the ceiling is for that. Because unlike the Browns, who have this great defense and this terrible offense, at least they have one half of the field that they can say that's going really well. We're talking about the punter here today after beating the worst team on earth. So, I still go back to the fact that my eyeball test says, can they be a buzzsaw in January? Yes. Can they get to January? Yes. Can they stink throughout December and half stink in January and still win a game or two and find themselves in the right kind of dogfight in an AFC divisional round or a champ? Yes. So for all the haters out there that think I've buried them, I'm not burying them for a couple of reasons, Luke. Here they are. Pedigree, they've drafted great football players. They've been a good team the last 5 years because of the base of these football players. But believing that Ronnie Stanley, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, who's famous for punching out footballs, which saved the game. I mean, we didn't like the game the way it was. Jets score a touchdown there. We probably like it less right now, even if they win it. But I'm not seeing any elite play anywhere. Other than Kyle Hamilton, I look at the team and Zay Flowers when he can get the ball.
The punter, Jordan Sal's
the
great.
punter
Yeah,
for a week at least, right?
Yeah.
But like, I look at this and say, why are bad teams bad? Well, they don't have enough good players. If they had Sauce Gardner and Quinn and Williams yesterday, they probably would have won, right? Or they would have had a better chance.
Maybe.
They would have better football players on the field to make impact plays the way Marlon Humphrey did. Marlon Humphrey made an impact play at the goal line. It didn't have anything to do with coverage or him being a cornerback. It had to do with his pickpocketing ability, and it worked. But it worked after the Jets took the ball 90 yards down the field, put the ball in the 4-yard line. So I look at this and say there's problems everywhere above and beyond Lamar's health, Lamar's practice, the out of sync offense because of that. If you're not practicing and you're not well and you're not out there on Wednesday, don't expect the passes to look sharp on Sunday. And if Lamar's situation during the week was like my situation an hour before my colonoscopy on Friday, which is I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I don't feel right. I can't do that. There are things I know I'm capable of doing. And we know what Lamar's frustration with himself is when he can't perform. We've seen that. He's harder on himself and not a good way. I mean, in an off-season way where I would get him a psychiatrist, a psychologist and sit him down and say, we need to fix you when things go wrong, because that's a Tony Robbins thing for me, for him. And things are going to go wrong because he's incapable of doing what he wants and knows that he can do. And he's not the only one. That goes for Ronnie Stanley. That goes for a lot of the guys that are banged up that can't do what they used to do or what they want to do or what they can do on their best day. You need to make sure their best day comes January 10th, right?
Yeah.
Like at this point, and that they can win games, win ugly, have us say on Monday, well, they don't look great, but they're winning, because it really does come down to winning. I mean, there are no style points. They're 6-5. They're in a good position. They're really in a good position for the position they're in. They really are.
They are, but as I wrote at BaltimorePositive.com, they're still not where they need to be, right? In terms of understanding, this isn't just about making the playoffs. This is about wanting to be in a position where you're trending and ascending, and they're doing that on defense, right? I mean, to your point, look, is Marlon Humphrey having an all-pro season? No. Is Roquan Smith having his best season? He's certainly played better of late, right? And obviously he missed some time with a hamstring injury. So you can go down the list individual by individual and poke some holes in it, but their defense is in a really good place right now. You can only play the quarterback that's sent out there in front of you every week. So how does that translate against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and, I don't know, Drake May, who, well, we're going to see him in December, right? We're going to see what the kid looks like, because he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football statistically this year. So I do feel much better about the defense, but I don't know if that means the defense is elite, great, really good, or good, because it has been Tyrod Taylor and Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel and J.J. McCarthy, who looks like he could be on the verge of being benched, right? I mean, go down the Tua, who was not in a good place, and that Dolphins offense that was in a bad place at that point in time. And hey, but they held the Bears to 16 points, and Caleb Williams is, not a top 5 quarterback, but he's certainly ascending, I would say. I think that's fair. So that side of the ball, I feel really good. Their special teams, Jordan Stout was phenomenal. Tyler Loop had the big kick in Cleveland the week before, right? I mean, it's looking as good as it can look with him, right? With him being unproven. So
with guys named Cook and Tucker.
But man, you said it though, when you talk about this offense right now, other than Zay Flowers, what do they do well right now? I mean, they're back to not being able to run the ball on Sunday against the Jets. And it's not the Jets don't have a horrible run defense, but the way they ran the ball in Cleveland, that was one of the few positives you took away from how the offense played, where you said, that Browns run defense is really tough, but we found some running room for Derrick Henry. And obviously had the big play with Mark Andrews at the end, even if that was a gadget play, even taking that out of the equation, they ran the ball well enough to say, hey, that was a step in the right direction. They average what, 2.9 yards per carry on Sunday, right? So they're not running the ball the way that you'd like to be able to run it right now, especially with Lamar's situation and his health. You'd love to be able to run the ball in a more conventional way to really, and they're doing that, but you're not seeing the productivity and the efficiency that you need to see in that way. But, in terms of just how this offense has looked, for a few weeks now. I mean, even go back to the Miami game, how choppy that first half was, right? I mean, where their offense was not good in that game. The Minnesota game, they didn't have a touchdown in the first half. So you're looking at this now, and it's not a very good offense right now. It just isn't. And I'm not saying that to suggest that it can't get better, but when the health of your franchise quarterback, who is such an extraordinarily special player, is called into question, and it's leg injuries, it's not like, oh, he fell on his elbow, his non-throwing elbow or something like that. That's where you look at this and say, is there going to be a path to getting him healthy? You're going to have this coming weekend after the Thanksgiving game that will help, but he's having new ailments every week, right? I mean, it was, coming off the hamstring, and he had a month for that. So you felt pretty good about his health at that point. But then when it's a knee and now it's an ankle, and he's not looking his normal self over the course of 60
What did he
minutes.
say in the post game? Because in a general sense,
He was asked how his ankle felt. He said, the quote was, it was pretty solid. He denied injuries being a factor in the offensive struggles collectively. And look, Lamar's not going to make an excuse, right? I mean, players aren't going to do that. But I thought what was telling here was his answer when he was asked whether he's truly felt fully healthy at any point since returning from the week 3 hamstring. So that's including that Miami game after he practiced the previous week, the injury report fiasco on Saturday, all of that. His answer was, I can't call it, but I'm out there. So I feel like I should still be able to do what I do. I mean, that seems like a pretty telling statement of someone saying, I'm not healthy.
well, if you don't feel good on Sunday, I would think Thursday you're not going to feel better.
And that's the thing, right? And that's not, it's not to be an alarmist that he won't be out there Thursday night, but what's it going to look like? And okay,
Hold your bets, gentlemen. That's what I would say.
yeah, and look, I mean, they're winning games with Lamar being less than 100%, and the Bengals stink. I mean, now the Bengals offense, if Joe Burrow is sharp in his first action in over 2 months,
You expect Burrow to
and
play.
I think so. I
Okay.
mean, and part of it is also Flacco. The mojo's gone. I mean, the last couple weeks, it's not looking good for him. I think that shoulder's an issue for him. I really do. But unless they as an organization just have a complete about face and say, no, we're 3-8, we're shutting them down, which I think you're going to have a lot of pushback from Burrow himself for saying, look, I've worked my butt off the last 2 months to get back to this point. I want to play, even if it's just to ruin the Ravens, right? To spoil the Ravens if we can hand them at least one loss in the next 3 weeks. So I think he's going to be out there. I don't know that 100%. I mean, I don't know if anyone in Cincinnati knows it 100%. I mean, you got to see how he feels. But he practiced fully a couple days last week. So you would think as long as he didn't have a setback, that's a sign that he was going to play for this Thursday game, if not against New England on Sunday. So, we're going to see on that front. But, I just, when is Lamar going to heal up enough to being what he needs to be, right? And I'm not saying these are major injuries he's dealing with, but it's enough. And when you're a quarterback who is the centripetal force of this offense, right? I mean, the the straw that stirs the drink in everything they try to do, whether he takes off and run on any given play or it's just the threat of him doing that. When he's looking the way he's looking right now, teams start to catch on very quickly. And you made a great point 5 or 10 minutes ago when you talked about just being a little bit off in the NFL. That's a lot, right? I mean, that the margin between the very best teams at the top and the Jets and the Browns of the NFL, it's not as dramatic as we'd all like to think. Yes, like when there's a lack of an absence of a franchise quarterback, yeah, that's cold water in your face in terms of the distinction there. But in terms of like the athletes, in terms of the talent, I mean, even the worst teams in the league have talent. They're not devoid of good football players relative to like thinking, college to pro.
Well, I go back to saying you take away the special ability. If you take 1 inch off of any of these guys, they become like everybody else. They're not elite anymore. They just back up and become one of the rest of the guys. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if Lamar can't move, he's no better than Joe Flacco can't moving, right? Like it's just, and if Lamar's going to get caught and get injured more because he can't move and do what he 99% of his life has been able to do, which is get away from guys, that becomes even more dangerous, I think.
Well, I mean, it's just you're accustomed to playing a certain way, right? And that's one reason I had so much praise for him in that Minnesota game. I mean, go look at his numbers in that game. That he did not have good numbers in that game, but I thought that was such a mature veteran kind of performance because he knew that the Vikings were blitzing the daylights out of him. He knew that there was a lot of pressure. He played a lot of effective quick game, got the ball away. And that's not to say that like he's not doing that these last 2 weeks, like he's not trying to do that. But I thought that was a performance that really matched what they needed in that Vikings game. Whereas it just felt like he's just plain struggled the last 2 weeks, right? Where it's just, not looking the same, throwing the ball, his timing's off.
And to your point, good things they were playing the Browns and the Jets and not the Rams and whoever, right?
Yeah,
the Eagles.
And they're not, and the optimists would say, well, they're not going to be playing playoff teams every week. Like even in December when the schedule does get tougher, you're still playing the Bengals. We all agree, regardless of who wins this division, I don't think anyone at all views the Steelers as a top tier team. But the Ravens,
but a threat. They
but
can still lose to them.
Yeah, but the Ravens aren't playing like a top tier team. And by the way,
neither the Bills or the Chiefs.
That's right. That's a Steelers defense that, while it's not a peak Steelers defense by any stretch of the imagination, that's another team that knows how to play the Ravens and knows how to play Lamar Jackson, at least hypothetically what you're supposed to do. So, those matchups, they're not slam dunks. They're not sure things, right? I mean, nothing is right now.
Even games get tougher now. And I think that short rest, home game, feel good. Bengals, Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, doesn't matter. The games are tougher now. They've gotten through the teams that are the bad teams. Now they're playing teams that know them, division games, double. I mean, really, all the Steelers games are like 2 games for them. And New England and Green Bay, I mean, they're going to have to play better football than they've played the last 4 weeks to win the next 5 games, right?
Yeah, and I would even say, I'll even give you Cincinnati, right? I mean, the Bengals are 3-8. Their defense is horrible. Who knows what Joe Burrow is going to look like? So, but even take those games. Okay, so that's 2. And I'll even give you, all right, they'll win in Cincinnati. They'll find a way, right? So that's 2. You still have 4 other games. You have 5 losses. As much as they've won 5 in a row, they're still 6-5 in the collective, right? In the the aggregate where you're looking at the big picture. So they still have a lot of work to do here. And those other 4 games, 2 against Pittsburgh, New England, and going to Green Bay week 17, the next to last game of the season. I mean, they've got to play better. There's no doubt about that. And they can. Their defense is playing so much better than they did over the first 5 weeks. Their special teams are doing some special things for them. As long as the punt returner does, as long as LeJohntay Wester isn't putting another ball on the turf like he did in Cleveland. So they have a lot going for them. And, I don't want this to sound like an over-the-top negative segment, but I am concerned about how Lamar Jackson looks right now. And I am concerned about this offense that, let's face it, to your point, I'd even go back to, okay, I'll give them the first half or the first three quarters of the Detroit game, even offensively. They still scored 30 points in that game. But man, it's been a while since this Ravens offense has been cooking the way that we know that it's been able to in the past. And
Or the way we think it's going to need to in January.
yeah, and that's where you look at this and say, well, is the offensive line going to get any better? And is Lamar going to get healthier? I don't know that right now. And that's where it's tough because you don't have a scenario where you have a first round bye and an extra week. I mean, again, if they can continue to win and maybe if Pittsburgh falls apart to the point where maybe there's a scenario where you can rest Lamar and a couple other starters in week 18 if you've wrapped up the division, then great. Then the calculus is a little bit different in that way, but man, there's a lot of football to play between now and that scenario. So they've got to be better. They were good enough on Sunday collectively, but they have to be better.
He's Luke Jones. He's Baltimore Luke. We got plenty of football. We haven't talked defense at all. We have turkey in the oven. We have pumpkin pie, maybe some mincemeat pie if you're lucky, apple pie if your mom loves you. It's a great Thanksgiving week around here. The Ravens are back into first place, or at least a part thereof. And the Orioles are still making deals, too. So we got a little bit of that going on as well. Maryland Crab Cake Tour's out on the road, presented by the Maryland Lottery. We'll have Raven scratch-offs to give away. We're going to be at Deep Pasquale's. I'm going to be doing a show for the first time at Honey's in Alethorpe. Looking forward to that. I've had some folks reach out to me there. We'll be back down at Fadley's for the holidays and over Costas and Dundalk, where I haven't been since they opened the new Timonium location. So they're all mad at me in Dundalk and welcome me back over there. So I'm looking forward to that and a short week here with football and the turkey trot with our friends at the Y on Thursday. I'll be at Towson. So come on out and say hello to me and everybody else. Thousands of people do the turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day. I am now a turkey trotter. I'm Nestor. He's Luke. We're WNST. Stay with us. We're Baltimore Positive.